On the desolate mound, a young man stood facing a stone stele, his small figure stark against the ashen sky. His gaze was distant, as if piercing through time when the past once hailed him as a dazzling star. His body had unlocked all meridians, which should have released extraordinary power. Yet all his strength was sealed tightly by a mysterious force at the glabella. After 16 years, he had only one day left to inherit his clan's destiny and immense fortune. The name Shi Meng suddenly surfaced in his mind, stabbing pain into his heart. He silently wondered if he could ever hear news of that person again. The strange power at his brow revealed truths, making him blush at past memories, then scold himself for curiosity, until distant quarrels cut off his thoughts, leaving regret. Those words snapped him awake. He spun around, sweating, body tense in vigilance. Two strangers advanced with fierce momentum, assassins of the Meridian's realm. One 5th stage, one 6th stage. He instantly realized both were highly dangerous opponents. To ease the tension, he scratched his head with an awkward smile, denying he was anyone important. One burst out laughing, insisting they were right, revealing his true identity as the second young master of the Northern Sioux clan. Hearing his name exposed, Suo Wu smirked, a cold smile on his lips. The assassins recalled his childhood, when he had shocking talent and was expected to reach the supreme realm. They revealed the clan had suffered over 1,000 assassination attempts, most aimed at killing him. The three sank into a tense silence, facing one another. Suo Wu pointed at himself, bewildered at such an outrageous number of murder attempts. One emphasized mockingly how he had collapsed into a cripple since youth. The taunt enraged him as the enemy slowly advanced. At first, some thought the Sioux clan hid his talent, but gradually all realized he had truly declined. He crossed his arms, warning that touching the heir of the Sioux clan was a grave crime, reminding them of his family's prestige. Hearing this, the two men hesitated slightly. But then both drew gleaming weapons, declaring they would finish the job and flee, promising a quick, painless death. One clenched a cigarette, coldly bidding farewell to Suo Wu. He instantly lunged like a wild beast in the forest. At that moment, a mystical purple eye flared open on Suo Wu's brow, radiating illusory light. When the strange eye activated, the enemy's speed suddenly appeared unnaturally slow. Suo Wu clenched his teeth, realizing that though his eye could follow, his body was too sluggish to dodge. The assassin's terrifying punch came crashing in with overwhelming force. His whole body sweated as he muttered bitterly about bad luck. The massive fist slammed straight into his stomach. A burst of purple light exploded, hurling his body violently away. He crashed into the stone stele with a resounding impact. When the dust cleared, he clutched his aching belly, shocked to still be alive after a blow that could destroy a tower. He sneered, stood up, and mocked that the punch was nothing. Seeing him unharmed and even taunting, they were astonished, suspecting he had held back on purpose. He smirked and vehemently denied it. The attacker laughed gleefully, guessing he had a protective artifact. The smoker, annoyed, mentioned legends and suggested they split the treasure. Both agreed. With that, they charged together straight toward the stele. At dawn, a tiny bolt of lightning suddenly flashed around the stele. A massive aura burst from Suo Wu's body, unconsciously blasting the enemies away. The two assassins tumbled while he became the center, absorbing the sun's energy. The pressure mounted, forcing him to raise his hands to shield his face. Inside his body, iron chain seals clashed violently with lightning. The ancient shackles shattered one by one, instantly breaking 250 seals. Golden spiritual energy surged forth, stunning him as he felt his power return. He laughed proudly, proclaiming that not even sacred Mount Tai could hide his light. Suddenly, the blade wielder collapsed to the ground. The other, bloodied and terrified, realized the stele held strange power and urged to kill him immediately. Hearing that, the smoker quickly drew a gun, aiming its black muzzle at him with cold words. A barrage of bullets thundered toward him, but his figure vanished like mist, making them panic and scream that they had met a ghost. A flash of his figure appeared suddenly behind the blade wielder. Before the man could turn, Suo Wu instantly struck him down. Gazing at his blood-stained hand, he sighed deeply, feeling killing unbearably unpleasant. The survivor trembled violently, drenched in sweat, stammering in disbelief at the scene. He silently clenched his fists, knowing that with his original 8th stage Meridian realm power, he could have killed them both instantly if only his strength had fully recovered. He recalled that when the storm of bullets came, he was still standing on the stele. In that fleeting instant, he had surpassed bullet speed, appearing behind the enemy and delivering a lethal strike. As the foe fell, he strode forward coldly, eyes brimming with murderous intent, demanding conversation. He interrogated who was behind the assassination, since sending so many elites to kill someone deemed useless was excessive. The assassin panicked, begging for his life in exchange for the truth. Suo Wu stomped hard, pressing his head down, coldly promising only a quick death. He screamed out that Jie Tianyu was the mastermind, wanting to eliminate him over love rivalry to monopolize Lin Shumeng. That answer made Suo Wu smirk faintly, his tone icy, as if he had foreseen it. The man mocked that assassinating him was too difficult, saying this time he had fallen into a great trap, ridiculing Suo Wu's disguise. He laughed back, declaring that pretending to be a cripple for 10 years was the real joke. Just as he finished, the assassin suddenly drew a blade to strike, but Suo Wu dodged easily and scolded him harshly. The assassin attacked desperately again and again, but it was all useless. Soon after, he countered with a punch straight into the man's stomach. The force tore through his body, veins bulging as he writhed in excruciating pain. In moments, both assassins had been slain by him. Leaving the scene, he silently admitted he was still unaccustomed to the feeling of killing. In the quiet mountain cleft, he told himself that burying bodies here would keep them hidden. He pulled a phone from his pocket. A voice on the other end asked where he was. A blonde girl scolded angrily, upset that he hid his whereabouts and still indulged in delusions since he could not cultivate. He frowned and replied sarcastically that she was retelling an old joke. She lashed out, calling him an annoying brat, accusing him of being with another girl. He sighed wearily, denying it. He admitted he had coincidentally met her friend, then suddenly lowered his voice to confess that the one he truly liked was her. She blushed on the line, flustered and speechless. The scene shifted to morning at a luxurious city villa. A beauty poured tea while two men conversed, praising her and accepting the fine brew. A phone rang, interrupting the talk. The girl lifted her head curiously as a young man rose to answer, prompting another to ask what was happening. The caller was Jie Tianyu, eldest son of the Z clan, speaking coldly that Suo Wu was still alive. Opposite him sat Fang Hu, leader of the Black Tiger Gang, a 6th stage expert, calmly assuring that all traces were erased and any trouble would fall on him alone. Jie Tianyu sneered, saying the Su clan's reputation was no sham, that proof was unnecessary, and ordered Fang Hu to stop and instead investigate who had saved Suo Wu. Fang Hu knelt, vowing to uncover the truth. He emphasized that the two elders of his faction could not have died in vain. The girl beside them cut in coldly, warning he would regret this. She mocked being sent to pour tea for a man drenched in killing intent, which angered Jie Tianyu, who inwardly despised and hated her for her connection to Suo Wu and daring to contest him for a woman. He spoke arrogantly, declaring that not even heavenly kings could make him afraid. Scene shifted to the subway, where Suo Wu reflected that near-sonic speed was now easy for him, regretting not going to Mount Tai 16 years ago. At his age, he had opened all meridians and reached 8th stage Meridian realm, rivaling top prodigies despite being younger, whispering, "Yanjing, I have returned." At the crowded station, slender legs appeared, drawing everyone's gaze. It was Lin Shumeng, the young goddess of the Heavens Pride ranking, adored by countless people. The crowd erupted in astonishment at her presence. A young man's voice rang out, "Shi Shi, I came to pick you up." It was Suo Wu, half joking, half serious, sounding intimate. She scolded angrily, suspecting he was keeping distance on purpose and only wanted media attention, making him briefly uneasy, thinking she had guessed the family's arrangement. He gently took her hand, claiming he was just a lowly worker, then pulled her away despite the angry stares of fans, leaving together in a luxury car. In the car, Shimeng shyly admitted she once used him as a shield, worrying about last night's danger, while he simply smiled and held her hand, assuring her all was fine now. With a trembling voice, she confessed she almost lost him, crying in fear the second time she shed tears for him. He suddenly thought that back then, she wasn't the only one who wept. She tearfully recounted how she had called repeatedly without answer, and only when hearing his voice did she feel relief. Touched by her concern, he smiled brightly and thanked her sincerely. Her cheeks flushed as she hesitantly said they were the closest of friends. Aside from her mother, he was the person she was most attached to. He cut her off, refusing to let her continue, affirming there was no need to apologize. He then told the driver to stop the car. She worriedly asked if he was angry. He softly replied how could he be. He even joked that online rumors about their romance only benefited him. His words stunned her, and she softly called his name. The driver tried to speak, but she immediately stopped him, telling him to just drive. He walked alone down the street, leaving her sitting in the car in quiet sorrow. At the same time, Xie Tianyu ordered a warning. Anyone who touched Suo Wu must die. His phone rang, a furious voice accusing that he had protected her for years, but could not endure seeing her hold another man's hand, especially that of a cripple. Shimeng furiously retorted, asserting her feelings had nothing to do with him. She coldly rejected the engagement, declaring that even if he was a genius, she did not care. When he threatened to kill Suo Wu, she firmly said she would go with him. After hanging up, her face turned cold, determined not to forgive him ever again. Suo Wu, walking in thought, recalled the warmth of her hand, knowing her burden, and resolved to protect her through the storm. He hailed a taxi and told the driver to head for the northern 10th Ring Road. The car sped away quickly, but soon the driver grew uneasy. The driver reported that 2 suspicious cars were tailing them. He calmly instructed to drop him at the intersection, then told the driver to return straight to the city. As he stepped onto the road, a red supercar suddenly blocked his way. A group of playboys stepped out, mocking that he sought death, saying this was just an easy job given by Xie Tianyu, since a cripple like him posed no threat. A blond youth cracked his knuckles, growling that he would kill. Suo Wu tiptoed and moved at extreme speed. The playboy hurried after him, but after a short run he was exhausted, drenched in sweat, furious at losing track. The others arrived, bewildered at his disappearance. The blonde angrily ordered them to split up and search, refusing to believe he had escaped. One nervously suggested they should stick together, sensing something was wrong. Another dismissed it, saying he was just useless trash. The group continued searching, but suddenly froze. One spotted Suo Wu and shouted, accusing him of wanting to steal all the credit. Another rushed in, thinking he had faked weakness for years, hiding his true strength. Judging his speed, they concluded he was only 5th stage Meridian Realm, daring to face them alone, surely courting death. Stopping abruptly, Suo Wu turned back and asked what they wanted. The enemy sneered, mocking his years of pretending to be crippled, telling him to keep running. Suo Wu calmly asked back, confirming the man was 6th stage Meridian Realm. The foe boasted arrogantly, ridiculing his naivety and saying this place would serve as his grave. Suo Wu narrowed his eyes coldly, asking whose grave it would be. The blonde leapt forward, shouting that it would be his burial ground. Even suppressed, Suo Wu stayed calm, waiting for the punch to land. Suddenly, he struck lightly with his palm into the man's stomach. The blonde clutched his gut in agony, gagging as if to vomit, gasping a warning of looming disaster. When his companions arrived, they found him collapsed and foaming, and their leader, enraged, assumed someone had aided him and ordered retreat to report to young Master Yu. But as he pulled out his phone, a stone struck, knocking it from his hand, making the group panic as if facing a ghost. Then another stone smashed directly into one man's nape. The force knocked him flat, unconscious. Seeing their comrades fall one after another, the rest trembled, realizing they had walked into an ambush. Hailstones kept striking, knocking down each enemy. Suo Wu leapt down from the tree, voice low, repeating their words. He coldly mocked the useless man, making the blonde one tremble and beg for mercy. The man hurriedly confessed Tianwu ordered him to kill Suo Wu, making Suo Wu's gaze colder. When asked about Tai Shan, he revealed it was the territory of Fong Hu, leader of the Black Tiger gang in Qilu. With clues gathered, Suo Wu held a stone, eyes icy. Soon the sky dimmed, and a small bird landed on a branch to watch. On the ground he dug with pottery shards exposing filth, thinking even sniffer dogs couldn't track here. Suddenly, the bird spoke mysteriously, saying it had witnessed the silencing. Suo Wu spun around, ready to strike. Startled, the bird flapped away, shrieking that he even wanted to kill it. He froze, realizing it was just a sparrow. Could it be sentient? It cursed angrily, blaming him for cruel tricks, saying it nearly died. He frowned, fearing if it escaped, it would betray him. This was a spirit beast at the 7th stage, not ordinary. He shouted, ordering it to leave immediately without tricks. The bird raged, fanning its wings to summon a fierce gust. Suo Wu stood unmoving, facing its blood-red gaze. He thought the sparrow was devious and vicious beyond imagination. As it attacked, he joined his palms, releasing dazzling golden light. The blast of light struck before the bird could dodge. It screamed in unbearable pain. The blow sent it flying, rolling on the ground. Lifting its head, the bird cursed that he had hit too hard. Suo Wu approached, making it panic and beg for mercy, calling him brother. He frowned, astonished the bird's body withstood such power, doubting it was ordinary. That night, the city lights glowed, bars bustling with crowds. A blonde female bartender discreetly watched Tianwu and his comrades drinking. Tianwu stayed silent, secretly furious over his confidant's strange disappearance, suspecting Suo Wu had a protector, cursing the failed plan. One man complained about business losses, others offered help, but Tianwu brushed it off, telling them to keep partying. Drinking, he muttered disdainfully that Suo Wu was just trash, even if he rose again, not worth worrying about. Suddenly, the bar door slammed open. Suo Wu entered with the sparrow at his side. The group froze. One shouted, asking who he was and if he knew this was a secret gathering. Tianwu's face darkened in silence. Another man interjected, asking if he was lost. Suo Wu calmly walked forward, saying he sought another, glancing at Tianwu, bitter over 3 assassination attempts. A girl laughed mockingly, teasing him for bringing a bird, praising his ugly bird raising as unique. The sparrow exploded in rage, cursing the ugly girl and her whole family, saying she'd never dream of playing with birds. The crowd was stunned the bird could speak, realizing it was a spirit beast. The girl cursed, but the bird mocked and provoked her. Tianwu stood up, voice icy, demanding why Suo Wu came here. He secretly doubted, thinking Suo Wu came unarmed, without aid, far too confident for a cripple. Suo Wu ordered the sparrow to attack. The bird asked if it should kill or just cripple. He said only to warn, not kill, but Tianwu shouted he was courting death. The girl frowned, thinking even if strong, such a small sparrow had little power. The bird furiously charged, shouting profanities. It unleashed a storm, blowing people and objects around the bar. Caught off guard, Tianwu was slapped in the face by its wing. The strike hurled him, smashing through the wall into rubble. The crowd paled in shock, exclaiming this was too much. Suo Wu watched, sighing that the bird was a bit heavy-handed. At that moment, several rushed in, and the bar owner, seeing chaos, shouted to know what was happening. Everyone pointed at Suo Wu, blaming him, leaving the owner helpless and scolding him for going too far. Suo Wu remained calm, pointing back, insisting Tianwu must pay for all damages. Hearing that, a man in the crowd angrily shouted, their eyes locked tensely, as the owner stepped forward coldly asking Suo Wu's origins. He turned, replying directly, warning them not to invite trouble. Then he loudly called Tianwu out to pay compensation, threatening to have the bird poop in his mouth if he kept playing dead. The sparrow grumbled, saying that was humiliating. A man pointed at Suo Wu, scolding him for such vicious words. The sparrow burst out laughing shrilly. Behind, a girl smiled faintly, thinking him utterly lacking virtue. At that moment, Tianwu groaned, face scratched, opening eyes in pain. Someone saw him struggling and quickly shouted his name. But Tianwu ignored them, gritting teeth, glaring at Suo Wu, vowing never to let go. Suo Wu immediately ordered the sparrow to strike him again. Just then, the bar owner shouted to stop. He scowled, teeth clenched, warning if Suo Wu thought he could trample the Flying Dragon Society at will. Xiao Yue quickly intervened, clarifying this was only personal grievance, but Boss Long stayed firm, saying even the Suo clan must follow rules. He declared he wouldn't meddle in grudges, but making trouble in the bar meant disrespecting him. Suo Wu coldly repeated damages must be paid by Tianwu. Tianwu leapt up, blood streaming, screaming denial. Suo Wu answered with a cold smile, implying he hadn't been taught enough yet. He grabbed a wine bottle, reminding the sparrow it had just slapped the right cheek, saying he disliked the imbalance. His eyes darkened as he raised the bottle, declaring he would make it even. Tianwu panicked, thinking of repeated failures and their spreading consequences, screaming for allies and the owner to save him. Two close men rushed to help. The bar owner also reached out, advising him not to strike. But it was too late. Suo Wu released killing intent, his aura as if tearing the sky. He turned coldly, reminding Tianwu he should have foreseen this day. His words drove Tianwu into extreme terror. Moments later, a loud crash shook the bar. The wine bottle shattered, smashing Tianwu's head, knocking him dizzy. Suo Wu stood before him, mocking that the famed sturdy body was fragile, coldly concluding he was just weak trash. The three nearby turned pale as ghosts. Xiao Yue spoke, saying after 2 assassination attempts, such retaliation was justified, but killing brought no gain. Suo Wu looked at the collapsed Tianwu, asking how she thought he should handle him. She calmly advised letting it go while the owner frowned, doubting Tianwu would swallow such humiliation. Suo Wu stared at Xiao Yue, asking if she was pleading for him. She frowned, firmly saying she only wished the best for him. The sparrow teased, claiming she fancied Suo Wu for his looks. He coldly asked if she was sick. Xiao Yue retorted, asking if he had medicine. He smirked, telling her to follow, then whispered, "I can cure it." Xiao Yue looked at him seriously, following without hesitation, leaving everyone stunned by her choice. Memories returned. At age 5, Suo Wu was a Suo clan prodigy, reaching the first stage realm. Chasing a northern tiger in the Ziyu Chi forest, he strayed into a mysterious cave. There, a glowing golden orb appeared, dazzling in brilliance. He curiously reached out to touch it. At once, the light shot into his forehead, shaking him into helplessness. The orb merged into him, granting the heaven-defying heart technique, allowing cultivation through heaven and earth aura without resources. Yet when opening 49 acupoints, his meridians were sealed, turning him into trash. Now the seal was broken, he was no longer weak. After leaving the bar, Suo Wu solemnly warned the sparrow of looming disaster, while Xiao Yue willingly followed him into the dangerous journey. Next morning, sunlight streamed through the windows, making the luxurious house more splendid. Suo Wu and Xiao Yue entered. He glanced at her with a sly smile, saying she would now be his maid. Xiao Yue instantly grew wary, threatening to kill him if deceived, even Suo clan status useless. Suo Wu waved it off, saying he was tired, they'd talk tomorrow, and she should find her own room to rest. He leisurely went upstairs, hearing the sparrow nag about a bed, then turned back, saying he'd buy it a beautiful cage. In his room, he noticed the phone. On the screen, Lin Shimeng in seductive clothes lay on a bed, scolding him for striking publicly, nearly provoking many forces. He replied calmly, dismissing their dignity, saying sparing Tianwu was already mercy. If Tianwu targeted her, he'd kill him under heaven and earth. Then softened, telling her to handle external affairs, noting rumors of 2 assassination attempts had been spread by her. Suo Wu laughed, praising her effort, asking if there was need for formality between them. Lin Shimeng suddenly shifted topic, pressing about Xiao Yue and why he brought her along. Seeing his amused smile, she grew flustered with jealousy, but admitted she dared not touch that girl due to her special identity. She added that this time Xiao Yue came willingly, but when returning he must be extremely cautious. She suddenly paused, then screamed, making him panic and touch himself in alarm. She continued sternly, revealing a special identity, reminding him, then hung up. After the call, Lin Shimeng still felt uneasy. Musing, he seemed changed. Wondering where the strange bird came from, rumors said some masters tamed beasts, making him ever harder to read. Scene shifted to Ta Family Hospital. Gloom heavy. Guards posted outside the ward where Ta Tianwu lay unconscious. A thin but skilled hand was performing acupuncture on him. A large needle pierced his forehead, making him scream in agony. Ta family members stood anxiously, asking the third elder about Tianwu's condition. The sweating elder replied his life was safe, but his cultivation path would struggle to advance. He sighed that the attacker was too ruthless. Lucky he survived. The youth rashly sought Lin Shimeng by targeting Suo Wu, not knowing the heir of the classics would never let trash interfere. In truth, Suo Wu was only a shield for Lin Shimeng to avoid unwanted attention. The Ta family recalled reports that a seventh-stage spirit beast guarded Suo Wu, but as a cripple for 16 years, he could hardly rise again. The elder sneered, saying relying only on a beast with reckless outbursts, without strategy, was nothing to fear. He ordered to seize a chance to wipe out Suo Wu completely without traces when someone reported secret news. Xiao Yue had followed Suo Wu. The elder was shocked she left, suspecting even the Suo clan knew her identity, then lowered his tone, saying preparations for tribute must begin. He resolved to personally apologize to Suo Wu next morning while persuading Xiao Yue to return. Suddenly, a messenger rushed in, reporting Feng Hu and the entire Black Tiger gang in Qilu were annihilated. He was horrified and furious. He roared that the Suo clan had arrogantly destroyed his forces in Qilu, no need for tribute anymore, accusing them of gravely insulting the Ta family. If this spread, the Ta family would lose all prestige. He immediately ordered troops gathered to surround and kill Suo Wu, slaying anyone who blocked. At the same time, seize all Suo clan assets in Yanjing without mistakes. A subordinate hesitated, asking if this would spark war with the Suo clan. He gave no reply, walking off to summon forces while calling Elder Tu, reporting Xiao Yue had been tricked away that night. He ended the call, shouting for troops to march. Thunder rumbled suddenly across the dark sky. In Suo Wu's home, warmth filled the air as Xiao Yue sat on the sofa on a call, affirming she came willingly. She added she believed he could cure her illness. If deceived, she would kill him herself, warning them not to interfere and that she would not return. Just then, Suo Wu came downstairs. Xiao Yue hung up, warning the Ta family was coming to kill him, but he calmly replied he already knew. The sparrow panicked, saying the man it beat had brought reinforcements for revenge, urging its master to flee or die. It even threatened that if he ran this time, he should never come back. Soon after, it changed tone, hopping on his shoulder, grinning, calling him brother in hardship. From the sofa, Xiao Yue also urged Suo Wu to escape quickly, but the door opened. Lin Shimeng entered with a key and companions, declaring he didn't need to run. She proclaimed anyone wanting to harm him must get past her first. The sparrow trembled, hiding behind his neck, whispering if these were captors coming for it. It then pretended to cry, blaming all today's troubles on him. Ignoring the bird, Suo Wu greeted the newcomers. They replied warmly, saying no need for formality. Realizing they meant no harm, the sparrow puffed up boastfully, threatening to destroy anyone daring to come, making one laugh, doubting its tiny wings had really injured Ta Tianwu. At that moment, Suo Wu glanced at his phone and answered a call. On the line, Suo Liang reassured him their clan had blocked the enemy, knowing Lin Shimeng was with him gave peace of mind. He warned Suo Wu to stay cautious, saying two masters were already guarding in the shadows. Outside, rain poured with roaring thunder. Around Suo Wu and the two girls, golden killing aura surged out. He said coldly the enemy had arrived fast. A stern elder shouted for them to go outside to battle, warning everyone to stay alert. The sky split again with blinding lightning. Outside, many Ta family figures rushed like phantoms, aiming to annihilate Suo Wu. Their leader's eyes suddenly flashed, sensing something unusual. As expected, the two experts sent by Suo Liang appeared to block, while Suo Tianxiang leapt down from above, shouting to know who dared charge in. The opponent said nothing, immediately drawing twin blades and charging to attack. In an instant, a flurry of deadly slashes struck toward Suo Tianxiang. He couldn't dodge in time, his arm cut with a long wound, screaming in pain. The following strikes poured down like a storm, forcing the Suo family experts into weakness. Everyone, including Suo Wu and the elders, witnessed it. Tian Chang and Tian Sheng had to shout to protect the young master and retreat first. The Ta family grew more arrogant, chasing while mocking, claiming the Suo family experts were weak and Suo Wu would not survive tonight. Watching the chaos, Suo Wu grew alarmed, realizing the enemy were powerful assassins of the Ta family. Suddenly, he noticed the sparrow missing from his shoulder. Surprised and calling out, Xiao Yue helplessly pointed to the wall painting where the bird was camouflaging, muttering it was just decoration. Outside, 4 hidden elders sensed terrifying killing intent approaching. The Ta family assassin froze in shock at the overwhelming aura, wondering who the foe was. Immediately after, countless waves of killing intent condensed violently. An overwhelmingly domineering strike erupted, forcing the Ta family side onto defense. One elder seized the chance, uprooting a great tree and hurling it toward the enemy. The Ta family leader reacted quickly, channeling energy so his twin blades emitted dense black aura, preparing to meet the attack. He leapt up, cleaving the tree apart, roaring in order to shatter. But suddenly another elder ambushed from behind, roaring that once here he wouldn't escape. He sneered with disdain, saying they couldn't hold him, then unleashed countless terrifying killing rays. The third elder of the group was struck, blasted backward, his comrades calling out in alarm. His face twisted, enduring immense pain from the heavy blow. At that moment, another elder charged, his fist blazing like fire, shouting a death cry. But the enemy suddenly vanished, leaving no trace. He reappeared right behind, mocking that their reaction was too slow. The twin blades in his hands surged with horrifying killing intent again. The two sides clashed fiercely, their auras shaking the space itself. In the desperate situation, Suo Wu clenched his teeth, realizing if he kept hiding power, his comrades would die. As the battle reached its peak, a white-robed figure suddenly appeared in the dark night. It was a silver-haired elder, channeling energy into blazing fists, thinking the decisive moment had come. He pushed off from the tree root, soaring forward, shouting to unleash the ultimate skill, Heartbreaking Palm, one of the 3 supreme techniques. Terrifying power condensed into radiant light, enveloping his arms. He poured out all his strength, landing a fatal strike that blasted the assassin away. The strike forced him to skid across the ground, roaring in rage and accusing them of only ambushing from the shadows. No one replied, only shouting together to unleash killing moves and finish him. The assassin clenched his teeth, knowing he was wounded and would surely die if he kept fighting. He poured all his strength into the twin blades and vanished, escaping right before their eyes. Seeing him retreat, the silver-haired elder gasped in relief, yet wondered if the Ta family sending such experts wasn't afraid others would seize the chance to attack them. Night fell, a crescent moon shining down with an oddly peaceful scene. Inside, Tian Qiang and Tian Sheng knelt to greet the young master. Suo Wu asked about their wounds, and they insisted they were fine. But a gray-haired elder mocked that with such severe injuries, how could they say they were fine? Suo Wu immediately sent a voice transmission to comfort them, promising to help restore their strength. Tian Qiang was shocked, thinking the young master once deemed crippled now could use voice transmission. Xiao Ye sat on the chair, pouting that he was just talking nonsense. Lin Shiming spoke, saying with the assassin driven off things were temporarily calm, no urgent problems left. At that moment, the TV showed an old man with a sword scolding a fox spirit for enchanting mortals, declaring it must be destroyed. Xiao Yue happily chimed in, saying that was reassuring. Suo Wu stepped forward, gently telling her she had suffered much tonight. Outside, heavy rain fell, corpses scattered after the brutal siege. Among the dead, Suo Liang stood out, joyfully declaring the Ta family was wiped out, then ordering the battlefield cleared to avoid government trouble. At the same time in the Ta family estate, the courtyard was filled with corpses and echoing screams. A man in a suit nervously reported over the phone to Elder Tuo, but the other side coldly cut him off without a word. He gnashed his teeth in fury, slamming the table, realizing he'd been deceived. How could the small Suo family be strong enough to cripple the third elder? Seeing the massacre, he roared, asking if the Ta family was just a sacrifice in this fierce dragon crossing the river, and whether they weren't afraid of the world striking back. The more he spoke, the angrier he grew, declaring the Suo family shouldn't think the Yanjing powers would stand by. The people in the courtyard trembled, seeing the great elder appear. He stepped forward, face cold, pressing about reinforcements and how to deal with this now. Thunder crashed in the sky, making the atmosphere even tenser. Finally, he coldly ordered all branches to immediately withdraw from Yanjing. City residents buzzed over phone calls, shocked that a great clan lasting decades collapsed in one night while the Suo family clearly rose as the new leading power. News reports showed clearly. The Ta family was expelled for endless crimes, years of tyranny, contempt for law, and countless grudges. In the villa, someone bowed in praise that the Suo family upheld justice, while also questioning Suo Wu's use of voice transmission yesterday. He gave no explanation, only confirmed the cultivation realms of Tianqiang and Tiansheng, then invited them to follow him to Longcheng if the clan agreed. Without hesitation, both clasped hands in agreement to follow. He warned them never to reveal what they were about to see. They quickly swore a deadly oath, vowing secrecy, with violation bringing annihilation. Suo Wu smiled, signaling Tianqiang to extend his injured arm for healing. He closed his eyes, using the heavenly heart technique to channel healing energy. Tianqiang suddenly felt his body transform, panicking as if about to break through. His eyes shone bright, his whole body radiating power as he lifted his head to the sky. When the process ended, his wounds vanished and his cultivation advanced, leaving both of them utterly shocked. Suo Wu only smiled slightly, telling him to slowly feel it. Outside the window, the sparrow peeked in, gleefully praising non-stop. At a large corporation, a luxury car stopped at the gate. A bodyguard opened the door respectfully to invite the young master out. Suo Wu stepped out with scholarly elegance. The bodyguard reporting his elder brother was waiting inside. He followed the secretary down the corridor toward the designated room. The bodyguard announced the young master's arrival, and Suo Liang waved for them to leave. Suo Wu called out to his brother as he entered. Suo Liang embraced him joyfully after their long separation, asking about his situation. And Suo Wu replied, all was well. He invited his brother to sit, assuring this place was completely safe from eavesdropping. Raising a wine glass with a bright smile, he said after so long they could talk tonight, and the wine was a 60-year vintage seized from the Ta family. Suo Wu accepted with a mischievous grin, saying to save some as a toast to his father-in-law. Suo Liang was briefly stunned, then sternly reminded him that Lin Shimeng's sect was extremely powerful. In Suo Wu's mind appeared the image of Lin Shimeng solemnly casting spells. Suo Liang continued, revealing her sect had recently arranged her marriage, making Suo Wu listen intently, sweating and muttering if it was beyond him. Suo Liang raised his beer, advising his brother to forget Lin Shimeng. Suo Wu clinked glasses, drinking all, saying regaining his strength was reason enough to celebrate. Suo Liang asked in shock if it was true, and Suo Wu confirmed. He further questioned if Mount Tai wasn't the one who saved him, and whether the experts around Yanjing were also handled by him. Past memories surfaced of their grandfather scolding Suo Wu as useless, unworthy of the clan. As a child, Suo Liang refuted him, declaring his younger brother was not trash and forbidding insults. He protected Suo Wu, standing against the malicious words. Back to the present, Suo Liang recalled his brother once entering a cave where a strange encounter sealed his power. Suo Wu remembered, his expression filled with fear and shock. He explained that for 16 years he had hoped his brother would return, with power still continuous, now reaching early meridian opening realm. He laughed loudly, delighted at his brother's progress, as Suo Wu released crimson-purple energy. Suo Wu grasped his brother's hand, guessing he had reached 6th stage of the meridian opening realm. He said he could help his brother ascend to the 7th stage instantly. Suo Liang was horrified by such strange power. Beer splashed, 2 streams of energy surrounded him, and he opened more meridians, breaking through another stage. He praised that his younger brother's ability was far too extraordinary, but he also warned that if exposed, great sects would drain him dry. Suo Wu smiled, already understanding. Suo Liang took out a green jade slip, saying it contained a cultivation method requiring spiritual force to open. Suo Wu stared, asking if its name was Lian Pu. Suo Liang nodded in confirmation. He demonstrated, transforming his brother into a beautiful maid, making Suo Wu cry out in delight. He asked where such a powerful technique originated. Suo Liang's face turned stern, saying it was taken from ancient ruins with heavy losses, and though he trained long, his talent was less than Suo Wu's. He explained that at higher mastery, it could disguise as others, distinguishing true from false. Suo Wu clutched his chest, winking, saying it was quite good. He stressed that compared to geniuses of great sects, his brother still lagged behind. He explained realms. After meridian opening comes channel passing, then innate. Only kings and venerables could cross rivers and seas. Saints remained mere legend. He revealed the reason he dared oppose the Ta family was superior strength and ties with the court, with the jade slip gained from that cooperation. Suo Wu nodded, understanding why the authorities acted firmly. He pondered, reminding that Lin Shimeng and her fiancé both belonged to a super-ancient sect, not to be provoked. He urged his brother to be cautious, to cultivate with full effort in Longcheng, and reaching innate realm would bring the clan prosperity. In his heart, Suo Wu vowed he feared neither the ancient sects nor her fiancé. He thought of Shimeng, hoping she would wait, certain they would be together. On the road, Suo Wu and Xiao Yue sped in the car, the sparrow urging on and mocking opponents with broken vehicles. In Longcheng, the innocent 17-year-old Suo Shishi appeared among the welcoming crowd. She asked her father if he wasn't planning to give up the CEO seat to cultivate. Yet with Brother Wu's return, he still seemed heavy-hearted. Suo Tianxiong, age 39, sighed, saying today the Leng family sent invitations summoning major forces to discuss important matters. Shishi grew curious, and he explained that someone had discovered the Fairy Lake cave ruins outside Longcheng. Many experts died, and one survivor captured by the Leng family yielded scriptures equal to the imperial canon. Shishi was shocked in fear upon hearing mention of that secret scripture. Her father said the Leng family tried to conceal it, but failed, now inviting major powers to explore, though dangers were endless. She nodded thoughtfully, suggesting at least attending tonight's banquet to investigate. Also wanting her father to take Suo Wu, but he refused. Chichi objected, saying even if he didn't cultivate, as a hidden clan member, he must still face it. Suo Tianxiong pondered, then slightly nodded with a pleased look in his eyes. At night, all was calm until the roar of an engine, a car speeding like thunder. Chichi widened her eyes, exclaiming to her father to look. The car was too fast. Tianxiong smiled, suspecting it might be Suo Wu, then dismissed the thought. He told his daughter to listen to her brother later, not to cause trouble, and to stay away from bad people. She pouted in dissatisfaction. The car screeched to a stop before the gathered crowd. The door burst open with hearty laughter, chow, revealing it was indeed Suo Wu's car. Chi-Chi peeked curiously, wondering who was driving. The one who stepped out was Xiaoyue, her beauty shining like the full moon. Chi-Chi was surprised, then teased Brother Wu for already finding herself a sister-in-law. She ran over, laughing sweetly, praising him for looking more handsome and radiant. Xiaoyue smiled coldly, glancing at the girl, intending to leave immediately. The car sped off again like a storm. The sparrow shouted angrily, scolding them for driving wildly and disturbing its rest. Tianxiong was astonished the bird could talk, then asked Xiaoyue about her identity. She indifferently said she just happened to follow, seemingly with a background. Tianxiong pondered, then decided to take Suo Wu to meet the major powers in Longcheng, and Suo Wu firmly agreed. That evening, uncle and nephew sat talking in the car. He handed over a file, reminding that the Leng family was tied to the Ta family once expelled. Suo Wu confirmed, analyzing the ruins affair might be just a facade, not necessarily aimed at them. Tianxiong sighed, saying his investigation proved someone had indeed taken a strong cultivation method from the Fairy Lake Cave, but was captured by the Leng family. Suo Wu frowned, realizing something odd in how the information spread. His uncle praised his sharpness, lamenting that he was still too young. The scene shifted to a lavish banquet where many powers gathered. Tianxiong introduced Suo Wu as the legitimate young master of the Suo family, while also greeting Director Chao. He then led Suo Wu to meet Elder Dong, an important figure of Longcheng. Elder Dong nodded, recalling he had once heard Lu Feng praise Suo Wu as a rare talent. Suo Wu modestly replied, saying the compliments were too much. Lu Feng beside him sneered, bringing up Suo Wu's clash with Ta Tianwu, making the crowd gossip and mock that he was once crippled and fled to Longcheng for refuge. Someone sneered that if she wanted to avoid the Ta family, she should just hide with her mother. Tiu Tiu flushed red with anger after hearing that. She shouted, warning them to stop being arrogant or they would shame their elders, but they still mocked that the weak must endure. She retorted sharply, saying if they had guts they should rely on themselves instead of their father's power. She bluntly declared their personal skills were inferior to hers. Tian Heng sighed helplessly about his daughter's hot temper, asked Suo Wu to protect her. He nodded firmly, promising she wouldn't be bullied. Scene shifts to a room where Lan Tuan angrily scolded over the phone, blaming his subordinates for letting a cripple prevail. He added that he heard that person was in Long Than, promising to avenge his friend and take action. Lan Tuan sneered that Suo Wu was just a cripple, unable to enter Ho Tien Cave, shocking the other side. The other planned to send people to kill Yu, and Lan Tuan agreed to turn a blind eye, warning another failure would mean total disgrace. After hanging up, he smirked, mocking the Ta family for being miserably suppressed by the Shou family. Go Dong, sitting nearby, opened his eyes and remarked that only 3 from the Shou family had come. Lan Tuan confirmed they were Tian Hong, Tiu Tiu, and Suo Wu. Go Dong calmly noted that though Tiu Tiu was young and pretty, mundane clans were far beneath hidden families. He advised Lan Tuan sincerely to restrain himself and not provoke them. Lan Tuan gave a faint smile, outwardly flattering Ngo Dong respectfully, promising to listen, then said he wanted to see Tiu Tiu. He arrogantly added that if she pleased him, he might just make her his maidservant. At the banquet, Suo Wu observed and asked if his sister often came here. Tiu Tiu replied she had attended such parties since childhood, but found them boring, preferring to have fun elsewhere. Suddenly, Suo Wu signaled that young Master Lan had arrived. The hall grew lively as all eyes turned to the 2 newcomers, with Lan Tuan's companion praised for his bearing, rumored to be an honored guest. Lan Tuan walked straight over, fixed his gaze on Tiu Tiu, and asked her name. She frowned and snapped back, asking if he had never seen a beautiful girl before. He turned to mock Suo Wu, calling him a cripple, but Yu only frowned silently. Ngo Dong stepped forward coldly, ordering Tiu Tiu to follow him as a maid. Tiu Tiu burst out angrily, scolding him as if he were insane. Lan Tuan sneered, flaunting Ngo Dong's noble status, saying she should kneel in gratitude and threatened that even the Shou family was unqualified to resist. Tiu Tiu gnashed her teeth, eyes blazing, cursing fiercely. She delivered a thunderous slap to Ngo Dong's face, calling him the real cripple. Lan Tuan, witnessing this, broke into a cold sweat and spoke with a trembling voice in fear. Ngo Dong erupted in rage, his body glowing red like a monster, aura ferocious as if about to go berserk. The surrounding guests panicked, trembling as they whispered that his power far surpassed mortals, unsure of his cultivation realm. Tiu Tiu was engulfed in red flames, screaming in pain. Suo Wu rushed to pull his sister out, inwardly cursing fate for making him face an even more monstrous foe right after recovery. Ngo Dong roared, scorning the so-called cripple for daring to play the hero. He opened the heavenly eye, instantly calculating countermeasures, deeming the insult a capital crime. But suddenly he shuddered, a sense of danger striking him. At that moment, Shou Tianhong stepped in, shouting to stop. He pulled his daughter behind him and coldly questioned their intent. Tiu Tiu clung to her father, gratefully thanking Yu for saving her. Ngo Dong sneered, proclaiming his noble status, warning them to behave if they didn't want disaster. Lan Tuan cut in arrogantly, scolding the Shou family for not knowing their place. He praised Ngo Dong as a figure of a hidden family, belittling the mundane and mocking that the Shou family was worthless. The guests whispered that the No clan of Than Hai was an ancient sect with rules requiring surname changes upon joining. Ngo Dong proudly flaunted his identity. Tianhong calmly stressed the Shou family had no enmity and asked why they were being insulted, but Lan Tuan sneered that being chosen as a maid was a blessing. Many agreed, saying even serving as a servant to an ancient sect was equal to being an elder in a hidden family. Tianhong smiled serenely, pointing out that great sects recruited freely, never by force, and even Tai Ching once came to the Shou family humbly begging. Hearing this, Ngo Dong trembled slightly, showing unease. The crowd buzzed mockingly, not understanding who Tai Ching was, joking it compared to Taoist Lao Jun. Tianhong ignored their shallow words, firmly declaring he dared not fabricate such matters, stressing the Shou family respected the No clan of Than Hai and wished to avoid needless conflict. Ngo Dong withdrew his aura, politely greeting, saying it was only a joke with no malice. He immediately left, avoiding further trouble. A voice called from behind, "Brother Tianhong." Two elders approached, introducing new disciples, inviting interaction, and subtly apologizing for not reporting sooner. Shou Tianhong smiled socially, but inwardly stayed wary of their schemes, deciding he must report to the clan to prevent conflict. On the way back, Suo Wu asked Uncle Hung if entering Ho Tien Cave would be dangerous. He reassured him, believing his nephew was prepared. Ngo Dong secretly grinned viciously, vowing to set a trap in Ho Tien Cave. Back home, Suo Wu noticed the thieves had disappeared. He suspected that person was powerful as a demon, unlikely to be bullied. His gaze turned toward Tiao Yue's house, deciding to handle her matter. With that thought, he went forward and knocked on the door. Tiao Yue opened it, surprised, and asked why he had come. Suo Wu stated directly that he would solve her problem. She didn't believe him, stunned and questioning. He turned away, pretending to joke before about to leave. Tiao Yue panicked, held him back, scolding him for being both arrogant and stubborn. She lowered her voice, admitted fault, and pleaded for help. He smiled smugly, telling her to call him brother instead of young master. They went inside together, and Suo Wu urged her to begin quickly. Tiao Yue hesitated whether to resist, but recalling his terrifying power, she endured. She obeyed, stepped into the room, and Suo Wu signaled to start. His words startled her, but she still extended her hand, immediately feeling her whole body burning. A small flame ignited, spreading across her body. Suo Wu opened the heavenly eye, focusing all his spirit. The gentle flame enveloped her, helping her internal flow circulate smoothly. Soon, she guided the fire into her dantian, absorbing all the energy. Suo Wu worried inwardly, seeing her meridians abnormal. Cultivation deviated, leaving an injury in her chest like a ticking bomb. He supported her up, thoughtfully assessing the difficult issue caused by her special meridians. He laid her on the bed to rest. Tiao Yue revealed she was not fully human, but from Thankao. He was shocked, frowning at hearing that name. She confessed she was a hybrid of the Fox clan and humans, only recognized upon reaching the innate realm. Suo Wu understood, thinking her beauty came from this, then asked further about that realm. She explained it was a distant stage, while she practiced human cultivation methods, making her dejected since it clashed with her identity. She wondered why others had no such problems, while only she did. He affirmed the reason was her meridians leaned toward the Fox clan bloodline. She nervously denied it, saying if true she should be a peerless genius, but he believed if corrected, she would indeed become one. She widened her eyes in doubt, unable to believe it could be resolved. He firmly assured her, asking her to cooperate and follow his guidance during cultivation. The next morning, sunlight streamed into the room, marking the passage of time. Suo Wu wiped sweat and advised her to practice Fox clan techniques instead of human ones. Tiao Yue rejoiced, vowing to serve as a maid to repay his kindness. He refused, humbly saying he was just a disciple of an ordinary hidden family, unworthy of her status. She earnestly argued back, insisting he surpassed all geniuses, even curing a condition that neither Thankao nor ancient sects could treat, warning that exposure would endanger him. Tiao Yue cautioned that in Thankao many arts could force truth-telling, making it hard for him to keep secrets, and that hidden families were weaker than ancient sects, while Suo Wu was still not strong enough. She pleaded to follow him, willing to bear the risks, only hoping he would accept. Suo Wu smiled and agreed, telling her to just call his name. She still instinctively called him young master, in a clear voice. Looking outside, Suo Wu resolved to keep his secret, seize Hotian Cave's resources, and one day raise the Shou family to equal the ancient sects. At the hospital, nurses gossiped that young master Suo Wu faked illness to avoid working. Patients mocked him as useless, ridiculing him for hiding in the ward. In the room, Shou Tiu fumed, wanting to rush out and teach those gossips a lesson. Suo Wu calmly said he needed to disappear convincingly, then gently asked if his sister truly wanted to find Lin Shimeng. Receiving her firm confirmation, Shou Tianheng arrived, half-jokingly scolding since the clan suspected Yu was being bullied. Yu bowed and apologized. He then asked Tiao Yue to arrange for his sister to work as a director's secretary for protection. Shou Tianheng agreed, but worried whether Yu could get involved in what Lin Shimeng was doing. Suo Wu firmly reassured his uncle that he had an expert helping, adding that in a few days someone would come and only needed to be placed in the Hotian Cave group. He guaranteed this person was absolutely trustworthy. Shou Tianheng nodded and warned his nephew to be extremely cautious. Suo Wu smiled, assuring Tianheng he would handle his own safety. The next day, he left Longthan, calculating as he went. He thought the rumor of him faking illness must have spread widely, so now he could act. He circulated his energy, feeling power surge. A thought rose within him. Many grudges needed to end. His figure moved swiftly, light as the wind. A bird flying past staggered and fell as he sped by. He raced for over 2 hours, thinking deeply along the way. He mused that perhaps he had touched a new realm. Comparing with ancient records, he suspected he had reached the peak threshold, but to prove it required real combat. Suddenly, a cold shout rang out. A veiled young woman panicked and fled. Inside a house, Tianyu growled, vowing to crush Suo Wu in 4 days. Suo Wu stood on a rooftop, silently overlooking Longthan. He smiled faintly, eyes gazing downward. Inside a house, he discovered someone cultivating. He carefully assessed and realized there were 2 experts at the Blood Realm, so he had to avoid alerting them. Tianyu smugly called his father, declaring Suo Wu would surely die. He laughed viciously, even threatening to destroy Lin Shimeng. A violent explosion erupted as Suo Wu broke through the wall and stormed in. Tianyu panicked, not recognizing him, and shouted to know who he was. Suo Wu stayed silent, delivering a blow that sent him crashing miserably. Hearing the commotion, his subordinates rushed in, calling for help. Suo Wu coldly shouted for them to go find their young master underground, then another man rushed at him. Before the man could react, he was blasted through the wall by Suo Wu, sparks flashing. Suo Wu sensed another expert arriving, thinking he was late. That person struck him flying, then coldly pursued, intent on killing him. Suo Wu dodged while countering, challenging the opponent if he thought he was afraid. He launched a kick in return, but the man still chased madly, shouting that he was a thief. A burst of light exploded, sending Suo Wu crashing hard. The pursuer roared and cursed, furious at failing to take him down. He was shocked at Suo Wu's extreme speed, losing track and wondering who he really was. Elsewhere, Suo Wu leaned against a tree, gasping, feeling lucky his identity was well hidden, while astonished at his own strength. He realized his power far surpassed his peers, perhaps thanks to deathly chi in his meridians, no longer fearing it. Intelligence revealed Lin Shimeng was now in Shu land, inside the Ta family estate. Ta Tianyu's father wailed in grief, believing the Shou family ruined his only son and all his years of effort. His wife wept, begging for revenge. The old master questioned if it was truly the Shou family's doing, then concluded they must bear the blame. He reasoned that the Shou family was now concentrated in the capital, with only Tiannan strong enough, but unlikely to act. Perhaps someone exploited the feud to frame them. The old master sobbed, thinking it highly possible they were set up, as the only evidence was a shadow in surveillance. He choked with grief, vowing that whoever killed his only son would face retribution. A subordinate reported that the Shou family denied involvement and even expressed regret over the incident. Ta old master coldly ordered to spread word that the Shou family intended extermination, so public criticism would rise. The subordinate questioned this. He explained he wanted someone to die with his son and make hidden families wary of the northern Shou clan. At the Tamxing ruins, Suo Wu stood silent, seething at the Ta family's vile false accusations. He realized his impulsive actions had damaged the clan's reputation, and he must be more cautious in the future. Inside the ruins, Lan Tuan pressed Lin Shimeng about her true relationship with Suo Wu. Lin Shimeng coldly refuted, saying it was none of his concern. Lan Tuan frowned, stressing that as her fiancé he had the right to ask. She retorted loudly, asserting she was not yet officially his wife. Lan Tuan grew furious, scolding her for being improper. They argued fiercely and then left the cliffside together. Watching her back as she departed, Lan Tuan questioned whether the accusation was true. Suddenly, Lin Shimeng cried out in shock, demanding to know his intent. He growled, saying it was unacceptable for his fiancée to be intimate with another man, stressing no one here would protect her. He mocked her for relying too much on magic tools and losing vigilance. Seizing the sword, he boasted that his artifact was of innate level. She immediately drew her weapon to defend. Ling Tuan charged forward, roaring to capture her. The sword tip thrust in, but she managed to raise a protective barrier. In pain, she still hid within the barrier, scolding him as despicable. He approached, mocking that her shield could only hold briefly, then threatened another strike. He swung his sword, cold steel slashing fiercely at the barrier. The shield shattered. She cried out in pain, and her weapon was knocked back into his hand. He laughed triumphantly, flaunting the gap in strength. Wounded, she still gripped her artifact tightly, warning she would end her own life if he dared touch her. At another location, inside the Tam Tin Doi ruins, Suo Wu sat on a tree, observing the flowing spiritual energy, deducing it was the entrance but fatally dangerous if rushed. He noticed the spiritual currents had a pattern, and mastering it would make entry easier. Even so, a bad premonition pushed him to find Shimeng quickly and return. Decisively, he dashed into the altar, skillfully dodging dense spiritual flows. Noises arose, prompting nearby martial artists to discuss some suspicious, others dismissing it as mere wind. The spiritual energy still surged endlessly. Going deeper, Suo Wu was astonished by the ancient formation's might. still powerful despite long decay. He suddenly noticed an anomaly, suspecting it was an energy fluctuation. A violent force struck, throwing him back. In pain, Suo Wu clenched his teeth, determined to advance for Shimeng's sake. At this moment, Lin Shimeng admitted she could not win, but threatened suicide that Ling Tuan could not prevent, leaving him stunned. He immediately lunged in, knocking the weapon from her hand. She trembled in despair, cursing him as vile and asking what sorcery he had used. He sneered, claiming the truly strong are those who wield schemes yet live freely, declaring himself the real hero. He revealed the engagement was merely for resource competition between two ancient sects, while she herself had little worth in her sect. Lin Shimeng angrily refuted, saying he was wrong because the past calamity had been sealed by a great expert. He further exposed that the powerful had taken resources away while the weak were abandoned. If she mattered, why was she left in the mortal world? He stressed her talent was mediocre, accepted only for her yin mystic constitution, but born in the wrong era, now valuable only as a bargaining tool. He clenched his fist, spoke lewdly, and tried to persuade her to dual cultivate, claiming mutual benefit but more for himself. He promised her a glorious future if she followed him. Otherwise, in her sect, she was just a pawn to be traded, insisting she could never escape. She screamed in refusal, but he mocked that the marriage was long arranged, and even if he defiled her here, her sect would not interfere. At the critical moment, a figure appeared. Suo Wu kicked straight into Ling Tuan's head. He clutched his head, angrily shouting who dared to ambush him. Suo Wu coldly replied, declaring that if he killed him here, no one would dare object. Ling Tuan sneered, ridiculing that as the most laughable threat he had ever heard. Suo Wu said in a deep voice to laugh before death, inwardly annoyed his strike wasn't fatal, forcing a fierce duel. Ling Tuan roared in rage, vowing to capture Suo Wu alive, interrogate his identity, then annihilate his sect. Lin Shimeng, unsure of the young man's origin, stepped closer to ask his true identity. While detoxifying her with a touch, Suo Wu apologized, making her cry out in pain. Ling Tuan was horrified that his poison technique had been dispelled so easily. Suo Wu mocked it as lowly, unworthy of being called a unique poison art. Bleeding heavily, Ling Tuan roared in hatred at being called naive. Lin Shimeng forced herself up, trembling yet resolute, thanked him for saving her, and urged to flee quickly. Ling Tuan gnashed his teeth, trying to stop her from escaping. He sneered, claiming Suo Wu was incapable of taking her safely from him. Hearing this, Lin Shimeng grew wary, realizing he was unleashing his full power. Ling Tuan raised his sword, glaring with hatred, vowing to give his foe a miserable death. She cried out in alarm, warning Suo Wu to be careful. The sword slashed down, erupting into a dazzling blaze. Lin Shimeng was forced to retreat hastily to avoid it. She was horrified by the sight before her. Suo Wu caught the deadly sword bare-handed, halting its killing intent. Ling Tuan growled, scornful of such recklessness. Suo Wu released the blade and launched a powerful punch straight into his chest. Ling Tuan swung again, laughing viciously, saying being killed by him was an honor, which enraged Lin Shimeng into cursing him to his face. She suddenly struck his back with a palm, making him turn and curse her harshly. He flung her away, knocking her to the ground. With a sinister smile, he boasted he would soon kill her savior as well. As the sword slashed down, Lin Shimeng screamed in panic to stop him. Ling Tuan laughed maniacally, threatening that no one could save her now. At that moment, a fist of violet light exploded and slammed into him. Caught off guard, he quickly turned to defend. Suo Wu shouted in regret that his fatal strike had missed. Ling Tuan furiously roared that he would never get another sneak attack. He instantly unleashed his power, launching continuous strikes at Suo Wu. Suo Wu, in pain, thought that this man was indeed at a much higher realm. But since the enemy was heavily wounded and weakening, he decided to risk luring him closer. Ling Tuan charged, thrusting his cold sword for a killing blow. Ling Tuan shouted arrogantly that regret was now too late. But immediately after, something made him freeze. Suo Wu gripped the sword impaled in him, coldly saying it was all within his calculations. He unleashed the decisive punch, the third fist. Ling Tuan took the hit, staggering back with a twisted face of pain and rage. Suo Wu lowered his voice, declaring this was the fourth fist. The punch boomed like thunder, striking the enemy into unbearable agony. His body flew far away, crashing heavily into the void. Suo Wu clutched his chest, coughing violently before collapsing, shocking Lin Shu Meng. She rushed to him in panic, crying out his name in despair. At the battlefield, space trembled, opening fierce cracks. Lin Shu Meng quickly held him, calling out in deep worry. Suo Wu weakly urged her to help him up to heal, warning the enemy might return any time. She desperately wanted to transfer spiritual energy to aid his recovery, but he refused, insisting on cultivating by himself to preserve strength, then entered meditation to heal. He softly chanted incantations, running the heavenly heart technique to gather energy for healing. Lin Shi Meng stood guard, inwardly vowing to repay this life-saving grace. At the same time, she sensed a strange familiarity radiating from him. She reached out, astonished that spiritual energy was gathering thickly around him. When she turned, she saw dense energy shrouding Suo Wu. Suddenly, he groaned in pain. She panicked, shouting that he had fallen into chi deviation. But Suo Wu suddenly rose, laughing heartily. He excitedly said that thanks to the deathly energy in his body, his wounds healed quickly. He opened new meridians and was about to reach a new realm strong enough to face Qi Hong. Hearing this, turmoil rose in her heart, for chi deviation was normally a cultivator's calamity. Clenching her teeth, she prepared to kill him to prevent future disaster for the world. Suo Wu quickly dodged, urgently assuring he was fine, leaving her astonished. He smiled gently, explaining it was only a sudden surge of power that was hard to control, causing misunderstanding. She asked in disbelief if he truly hadn't fallen into deviation, while he laughed it off to reassure her. Lin Shimeng finally breathed a sigh of relief, secretly glad he was safe. She looked up at the vast space, realizing this was a land where spiritual energy gathered, empowered by an ancient formation that boosted cultivation. Suddenly, a glittering light ahead startled her attention. She suspected it might be something dropped by Wei Hang. Stepping forward, she picked up 2 artifacts and gently returned them to their owner. Lin Shimeng accepted them gratefully and asked if Suo Wu had also come here to explore the ruins. He smiled modestly, saying he only acted upon seeing injustice, then praised her as not inferior. She pondered, remarking this place contained a terrifying ancient sect formation, still immensely powerful after countless years. After a pause, she suggested cooperating in exploration since going alone was too dangerous. Suo Wu hesitated and asked again. She smiled, saying whatever gains they obtained would depend on fate. So no need to worry. Suo Wu nodded, using the fake name Tong Hong, asking her to call him Tong Ge before inviting her along. Lin Shimeng happily agreed, calling him Tong Da Ge, and set off together. Meanwhile, in the distance, Ling Tuan staggered with injuries all over. He gnashed his teeth, cursing both Suo Wu and Lin Shimeng, vowing revenge. On the mountain peak, several figures saw him and were shocked to recognize their junior brother. They asked in surprise why he was so badly wounded. One roared suspiciously, saying no one in the area should be capable of this. Ling Tuan angrily recounted that junior sister Lin was threatened by another, urging fellow disciples to avenge her. At the cliffside, he pressed against a rock, forcing himself to stand. When asked if it was caused by a Tongmai realm expert, he replied uncertain, but said that person, though not yet at that realm, wielded terrifying strength. The curly-haired man frowned, doubting that a Sheng Shui realm cultivator could rival Tongmai realm. Ling Tuan hastily explained he was ambushed through an artifact that concealed aura combined with the formation's advantage here. Hearing this, the curly-haired man stopped questioning, only ordered to rescue junior sister Lin quickly. He urged junior brother Qi to lead immediately before the enemy escaped. Ling Tuan nodded, both pained and secretly pleased. For with 2 Tongmai realm experts added, he was sure Suo Wu would not escape death. Elsewhere, Suo Wu told Shumeng to use her artifact's full power to deplete the protective layer. A blazing fire dragon appeared right above the energy bridge. At that moment, Suo Wu clenched his fist tightly. He leapt high and unleashed a fierce strike onto the circular formation. Shumeng marveled in amazement, her eyes sparkling as the killing formation was shattered. Suo Wu smiled, secretly glad that thanks to his brow's tree eye, he had avoided countless dangers that others would not survive. Both suddenly looked ahead, exclaiming in unison, while Shumeng stammered in fear. Before them appeared an ancient sect, hidden in mountain clouds, ethereal like a fairyland. Suo Wu was stunned, marveling at the palace's grandeur. A dazzling violet light burst from his forehead. Yet despite focusing, he still discerned nothing. The tree eye could not penetrate and even backfired painfully, worrying Shumeng, but he brushed it off casually. Gazing at the river, Suo Wu pondered that the area was also covered by immense force. He tried tossing a stone into the river to test it. The stone bounced back upon touching the water, scattering fragments. Shumeng gasped, affirming a formation spanned the river, and stepping rashly meant death. Suo Wu nodded, musing that entering the palace likely required a unique disciple method. He added that if a special technique was needed, the situation would be very troublesome. At this time, Ling Tuan's group also reached a cliff, gazing at the sea of clouds. A white-haired elder was surprised, not expecting pursuit to lead to the secret realm's core. Meanwhile, Suo Wu and Shumeng had stopped beneath an ancient tree. From there, they saw clearly the group atop the cliff, and Suo Wu frowned, seeing Qi Hang bringing many experts. Shumeng explained that those beside Qi Hang were her senior brothers, all at the Tongmai realm, and the middle-aged men behind were also of the same realm, from his sect. Suo Wu sighed inwardly, thinking as a small figure surrounded by Tongmai cultivators, he could only rely on the formations here. Beside him, Shumeng grew sorrowful, clenching her fist, determined to escape being treated as a commodity and find her own destiny. Shumeng smiled faintly, her gaze fixed on the opposing group. The white-haired man spoke, warning the path was hard, already costing 6 artifacts, and asked their next plan. The green-haired man raised his hand, proposing that whoever seized treasures would keep them, leaving it to fate. The red-haired one agreed. Ling Tuan consented, while Suo Wu altered his form, urging everyone to rely on their own strength. He glanced at them, suspecting that entering the palace would not be simple. Ling Tuan impatiently suggested they must find Shumeng and the ambusher before he acted again. An elder waved dismissively, saying a Sheng Shui realm was unworthy of concern. Exploration was the true priority. The green-haired man advanced with surging aura, taking the lead charge. He leapt down, immediately followed by another who claimed he would not yield. Shumeng watched anxiously, her face full of unease. Suo Wu raised his hand to stop her, reassuring that she could not intervene, inwardly curious for the coming event, yet told her to stay hidden. The green-haired man was confident, thinking a river only a few hundred meters wide was not frightening. But as he neared the opposite shore, dazzling light suddenly erupted from the riverbed. A terrifying force struck him directly, exploding violently and throwing even those behind into the air. The people in the rear panicked, turning back to cry for help toward the cliff. But the raging blast forced everyone on the cliff to retreat violently. After quite a while, the curly-haired man struggled to stand up. He panted heavily, coughing hard from the shock. The group was shaken, and he rasped out about the terrifying destructive power. Suo Wu came to ask, and the curly-haired man Chu Shuang admitted his life was saved only by a protective artifact, and that he needed rest. Another man looked at the distant palace, doubting that though the relic was well preserved, its danger was beyond imagination. Suddenly, a hot-tempered, green-haired man spoke metaphorically, saying the current situation was like placing useless chess pieces. Another reacted harshly, arguing that his senior brother had also died here. Seeing the tension, Suo Wu quickly calmed them, advising patience, while Leng Jun worriedly asked about their next move, and someone suggested retreating. Those words enraged the green-haired man, who insisted they could not abandon such a rare chance. even if brothers had died here. He swore firmly he would not retreat, determined to enter the distant palace. Speaking, he pulled out a talisman and waved his hand with force several times. Bright golden light shone across the land. Suo Wu was shocked, guessing it was a legendary life-saving talisman, confirmed by the green-haired man as able to block one strike from an innate master. He recounted that long ago he had luckily found it while exploring ancient ruins and kept it until this very day. Another, hearing this, grew jealous, lamenting that he lacked such a treasure. The green-haired man ignored it, relied on the talisman to soar into the air, and before leaving wished everyone luck, then shot away. The others looked up, half believing, half doubting whether he would succeed. On Suo Wu and Shimeng's side, he calmly observed. In his heart, he admitted they each indeed had some abilities. When he saw the green-haired man advance to the middle of the river, he slightly shook his head, convinced the river could not be crossed. And as predicted, the man met the same fate as those before. A thunderous explosion rang, and the curly-haired man lamented that even the supreme protective talisman could not block that radiant power. Watching, Suo Wu sighed, admitting the expedition was in vain. At that moment, a silent boat drifted along the current and appeared. The red-haired man quickly noticed and shouted, pointing at the drifting boat. The group eyed the boat with suspicion, wondering if it was salvation or a trap due to its strange arrival. Suo Wu grew thoughtful, recalling the saying about despair turning to hope. Someone uneasily asked who dared to step onto the boat. Besides Shimeng, Suo Wu quietly observed the vessel closely. Using divine power, he discovered the river's strange force avoided the boat, proving it could carry them across. But immediately, the situation suddenly grew tense. With his special eyes, Suo Wu reported seeing someone on the opposite side. The crowd looked over at once, while he deliberately acted flustered, pretending they had been spotted. The silver-haired man shouted furiously, threatening to tear him apart if he did not return their junior sister. Leng Jun also echoed, demanding he release his fiancée at once. But looking at Shimeng, it was clear she was completely at ease, not coerced at all. Suo Wu kept assessing, calculating that the enemies were around the 5th stage of the Meridian Connecting Realm, with even mid-stage experts present. He immediately told Shimeng to retreat into the formation behind for protection. As soon as she withdrew, he thought that with the vertical eye mark he could see the method to break the array, and once he entered, the others might not dare follow. Leng Jun roared furiously, declaring Suo Wu's death was imminent. Suo Wu rushed toward the cliff, thinking that Shimeng willingly followed him, unlike being forced, while mocking the foe as incompetent yet enraged. Shimeng hurriedly cleared his name, explaining he had saved her from Chi Hong and never coerced her. But the others dismissed her defense, shouting that he was seeking his own death. Suo Wu was briefly stunned and asked again, while Leng Jun coldly insisted Shimeng was definitely forced and that he would rescue her. Shimeng, enraged, exposed that Chi Hong had once tried to violate her, declared she rejected the marriage, would report to the sect, and urged her brothers not to be deceived by a vile man. Leng Jun awkwardly tried to explain, while Suo Wu asked if it was truly a misunderstanding. A few others joined in, expressing doubt, making Shimeng give a bitter smile, pained that she was not believed. One embarrassed man spoke up, saying junior brother Qi did not seem that type, and since he was the rightful fiancé, closeness was not wrong. But inwardly he blamed Leng Jun for being foolish, since sooner or later she would belong to him. So why force it now? Shimeng, seeing her peers not trust her, felt only growing grievance and despair. Leng Jun quickly followed along, admitting it was a misunderstanding while the others relaxed, and the curly-haired man suggested reconciliation without fighting. He glanced at Leng Jun, stressing that a clear explanation was enough. But Leng Jun roared, insisting that with Shimeng it might be a misunderstanding. Yet with Suo Wu it was a deadly feud, urging his brothers to help capture him and promising rewards. Shimeng angrily shouted, daring anyone to make a move. Suo Wu remained silent, while Leng Jun seized the chance to insult him as cowardly, hiding behind a woman. Suo Wu coldly retorted, calling him incompetent, a violator of women, and afraid to face the truth. Those words drove Lang Jun mad, and he screamed to kill him, while his peers rushed to support. Seeing someone about to attack, Suo Wu pulled Xu Ming close, whispering that the foe was a fourth-stage meridian-connecting realm expert and must be avoided. At that moment, a terrifying force burst out, shattering rocks and earth. He urged Xu Meng to hurry inside. The two of them instantly dashed into the formation. Immediately, the array closed, leaving the others outside in shock. Suo Wu with purple hair called out Xu Meng's name loudly, while the bald man looked around suspiciously, puzzled why she dared enter such a dangerous area. He scolded everyone, lamenting that they had not seized the thief earlier, allowing him to escape. Suo Wu calmly advised not to stir more trouble, saying the relic was what mattered, and that thief would be caught sooner or later. Lang Jun wondered whether to continue chasing, then pointed to the boat and asked who would step first, while Suo Wu reminded them the boat was about to leave. The red-haired man did not hesitate, rushing straight to the boat, muttering about fortune within danger. The group followed, leaping from the cliff onto the vessel. Suddenly, a burst of light flared, astonishing everyone. The bald man warned them to stop, sensing the light was strange. The boat began speeding faster than before. After a while, the red-haired man noticed the light vanish, wondering where the boat would take them. Lang Jun speculated it might be an ancient formation used for testing or as a form of recognition. The silver-haired man agreed, reasoning that if it were hostile, they would already be dead, since the path here was full of dangers. Elsewhere, Suo Wu and Xu Meng appeared on another cliff. He looked at the group on the boat with dissatisfaction, regretting that such a valuable chance was missed. At that moment, he saw another boat drifting from afar. In his eyes, this was the final opportunity, and he could only gamble on it. Meanwhile, the first boat continued drifting downstream. Those on board suddenly noticed the second boat behind them. They exclaimed in shock, wondering why another boat appeared. Could it be counting the number of entrants? Suo Wu with purple hair suggested that boat was likely meant to pick up junior sister Lin and that man. The bald man objected, reminding them they had fallen into a killing formation before, and escaping so quickly was impossible. Unexpectedly, Suo Wu behind them loudly wished the kid good luck. The bald man was shocked, confirming it really was them. Lang Jun cursed furiously, swearing vengeance, then vented his anger by viciously insulting Xu Meng. Xu Meng asked Suo Wu if their boat would chase the others, but he calmly replied that once reaching the opposite shore, everyone would be busy seizing opportunities, not minding them. Hearing this, she felt relieved, smiled gratefully, and said without Brother Song, she would not know what to do. Suo Wu's eyes glimmered with curiosity as he asked if she had ever thought about the future. She answered that she had, but even if she reported clearly to the sect, nothing would change unless she became exceptional herself. Her words carried sadness. Suo Wu smiled firmly, telling her not to worry, as she would surely achieve her wish. Suddenly, a dazzling light flared again from beneath the river. Suo Wu froze briefly, then told Xu Meng not to move, focusing intently, sensing the light could illuminate all truths. A giant boat suddenly appeared before them, leaving both stunned. Soon after, the sky brightened as two rainbows appeared simultaneously. Suo Wu muttered in doubt, wondering if the two rainbows were meant to separate people into their own boats. He turned to ask Xu Meng if she wanted to step on, and though silent, her gaze was resolute. The girl entered one rainbow, smiling as she wished him luck, and Suo Wu stepped onto the other, returning her blessing. The group on the other boat saw this with envy and resentment, upset that the two were favored while they were crowded together, even wishing to drag them to the underworld. Suddenly, thunder cracked, black clouds gathered, the sky darkened, and a vortex rose as the river roared. The boat shook violently, and Suo Wu wondered about sea winds, since there was no sea here. As they drew closer, he was horrified to realize an actual ocean lay ahead. The boat rocked so hard he nearly fell, forcing him to cling tightly to the side. When the vessel plunged into the vortex's heart, a familiar palace appeared once more. The boat halted completely, and Suo Wu sighed in relief, exhausted yet comforted. Looking around, he was astonished by a massive ancient city, with defensive formations radiating terrifying aura. He could not help but admire the city, whose ancient grandeur carried overwhelming might and extraordinary defenses. When the boat stopped before the gate, a resonant bell rang, making his heart almost leap out. He hesitated, wondering if it was a welcoming bell, yet its reverberations shook his entire body. The vertical eye at his brow could not probe it, forcing him to whisper that he must step into the great hall to confirm. He quickly climbed the steps, recalling the strange journey. Great boat, rainbow, stormy sea, vortex, and finally arriving here. Pausing before the main gate, he panted and wondered if this was a great destiny. He looked up at the starry sky and the towering giant statue ahead. Doubt arose in his heart. Was this the supreme saint, the sage immortal Master Kong Sheng? He hastily clasped his hands and bowed respectfully. At that moment, a solemn voice echoed, "Enter my discipleship." The voice continued, commanding him to learn the law, spread the Tao, inherit the will. At the same time, a scripture fell from the void. Standing before the statue, Suo Wu was shocked to see the ancient text, realizing the sage immortal master was the highest realm of cultivation. This scripture was indeed a relic left behind by the saint. When the pages opened, he was even more shaken. It recorded the root method, treating the body as a universe, with 35 great acupoints and 12 main meridians. Only by opening them all could one reach the realm of unity between heaven and man. The book gathered countless techniques, distilling their essence to open acupoints and operate meridians. The more he read, the more engrossed he became, sitting on the boat at sea, pondering the general rule that filling acupoints and opening meridians was the foundation establishment realm. Only with a solid foundation could one enter the innate realm and become a true cultivator seeking immortality. He put the book down, reflecting that he once thought opening the 12 meridians alone was enough to reach innate. But now he realized that was still lacking. By rule, one must pass through acupoint filling, meridian opening, and only then reach the innate human realm, where cultivation stabilizes. He rejoiced, telling himself he had received an invaluable destiny. Sitting on the sea-bound boat, he secretly hoped Shimeng would also gain fortune to change her fate. And if not, he would grant her one chance of creation. In a temple, before a majestic statue of Guanyin, Shimeng knelt in prayer, stating her name and begging Bodhisattva for guidance. Suddenly a voice resounded, startling her. "Enter my discipleship, learn my law, spread my Tao, inherit my will." A secret text flew over, and she reached out to catch it. The voice from the statue continued, affirming she bore the illusory yang physique suitable for this inheritance. Thus, she was guided. But it said it saw she had human attachments, and to cultivate this legacy, she must sever feelings and remove thoughts. Shimeng was shocked, pointing to herself and asking why love must be abandoned. She spread her arms, questioning if eternal life meant a lonely existence. Then she would rather give it up. The voice explained it was not about lovelessness, but this path required purity to cultivate. Shimeng was stunned, asking who the other truly was and if they could appear in person. From the Guanyin statue emanated spiritual light, explaining it was only a will left behind. She was shocked, thinking if the will had lasted 1,000 years, the true body must have reached an unfathomable realm, while the will urged her to decide quickly. Shimeng firmly refused, saying if cultivation meant sacrificing everything, she would rather not cultivate, though the will mentioned eternal duty versus personal feelings. It then asked if she could handle her inner troubles. Shimeng panicked and suspiciously asked how the other knew her secret. The will calmly said her realm was too low, her emotions easy to read, so deduction was possible. Shimeng retorted that her blood and flesh carried true emotions, and if abandoned, there would be no great love. She frowned, adding that even with love in her heart, couldn't she still remain pure? The will laughed gently, admitting she was right, and told her to try opening the secret tome. If she could, it was her inheritance. Shimong felt hope as spiritual energy surrounded her. While the voice said this was unprecedented, the true body would not agree, but as a will, it wanted to try once. Shimong touched the tome. The will exclaimed that despite emotions, she could remain pure, startling her as she gripped the book. Then the scene shifted to a boat gliding past cliffs downstream. A man pointed ahead, loudly asking for negotiation, begging to be ferried to the opposite shore. Suo Wu thought being taken to the palace on the small island was like courting death, since Chi Heng and 4 meridian-connecting experts were there. He stood on the boat and shouted that if there was no reply, he would just stay on board and not disembark, and if they wanted confrontation, he was ready. Looking around, his body shining with golden light, he told himself that following this boat was at least less boring since he had nothing to lose, then laughed loudly. At that moment, a sudden sound made him startle and turn back. The boat shook violently, throwing him flat onto the floor. Holding his head, he cursed, scolding the so-called friendship boat for capsizing so heartlessly. Irritated, he stood up, muttering defeat, asking to be taken to meet the sage. He felt sorrowful inside, having just gained a great chance yet forced onto a path of death. Seeing the scene ahead, he decided to use transformation, disguising himself as one of Chi Heng's group to avoid suspicion, even plotting to prank them. From the distant palace radiated dazzling golden light that enveloped everything. He closed his eyes to sense it, horrified by the terrifying energy stronger than the river below. If he leapt down from above, he would surely die, so transformation was the only way. Purple light flared and enveloped him, and in moments, he became a young man. Suo Wu calmly entered the palace, thinking that since past places had been inaccessible, he must soon find a way to retreat. He worried that if he accidentally encountered the true body of Xianchang Qing, disaster would follow. Suddenly, a booming sound arose, making him suspect a living creature still existed here. A figure rushed over it was Chi Heng, and he bitterly smiled at this fated clash as the man cursed while running. Chi Heng, seeing him, panicked and called him Senior Brother Xiao, urging him to flee since a beast was behind. Xu Yu's eyes flashed with hatred, recalling Chi Heng once threatened to tear him apart, yet he pretended clueless, half-joking and half-threatening, asking if he too had been lured here by a beast. Chi Heng trembled and pointed back, saying it was the guardian beast's roar that terrified him. Suo Wu frowned, questioning how a sealed ruin could house living beings, suggesting it might be remnants of an ancient divine beast. Chi Heng hastily shook his head, insisting it was truly alive. The beast's blood aura was overwhelmingly strong, seemingly guarding a spiritual pond, making him think of primeval divine beasts. Suo Wu frowned, and asked if it was the legendary spiritual pond where spiritual energy condensed into liquid. Chi Heng nodded, proposing cooperation and promising to split the spiritual fluid in half. Suo Wu agreed, but still wondered how to act. Chi Heng, sly and seemingly friendly, mentioned the alliance of their two sects, hinting someone must lure the guardian beast away. Suo Wu skeptically repeated, meaning a sacrifice was needed to draw the beast aside. Hearing this, Chi Heng secretly rejoiced, pretending helplessness while nodding in agreement. Suo Wu placed his hand on his shoulder, sternly claiming he would take responsibility to lure the beast so Chi Heng could safely take the spiritual liquid, and Chi Heng instantly feigned gratitude. But as Suo Wu turned away, Chi Heng grinned wickedly, cursing him as a fool, thinking if he survived, giving him a little liquid later wouldn't matter. In the silent grand hall, the two faced each other amid splendor. Chi Heng brought out some spirit-absorbing herbs, offering them with honeyed words as if sincerely helping. This herb could provoke the beast. Suo Wu accepted it with cold eyes, secretly mocking, realizing it was a trap, and swore to make him taste a counterstrike. Suo Wu then charged to fight the guardian beast, while Chi Heng clasped his hands in false gratitude, praising his loyalty. Suo Wu coldly replied there was no need for words. Inwardly, Chi Heng sneered, thinking only funeral offerings would remain for him later. Suo Wu leapt onto the floating stones suspended in the sky. Before him appeared a stone pool where a radiant golden lotus bloomed. He called down to Chi Heng, saying it seemed a 9-turn golden lotus grew in the pond, making Chi Heng feign joy while secretly mocking him as naive. He kept urging, pressing senior brother Xiao on what he was waiting for. Suo Wu was not in a hurry, carefully observing the golden lotus surrounded by layers of golden light. He discovered 3 layers of soul-restraining seals there, secretly smiling and mocking Chi Heng's ignorance, thinking luring the beast was enough, while in truth the seals were tied to the guardian beast, and any touch would trigger its fury. He pretended to rebuke, forcing Chi Heng to swear a deadly oath to dispel suspicion. Suo Wu laughed loudly, saying his junior was being too serious. Chi Heng grew anxious, while Suo Wu advised splitting the golden lotus evenly to avoid greed. Chi Heng verbally agreed but inwardly schemed deception. Suo Wu noticed the other's impatience, knowing if he acted first the guardian beast would be triggered. As he stepped forward, a roar and golden light burst from the stone. A horned fire beast appeared, making Suo Wu curse Chi Heng inwardly. He angrily questioned him for hiding the guardian beast. Chi Heng sneered wickedly, secretly planning for the beast to kill Shu Yu. The beast charged at terrifying speed with high realm might, leaving Suo Wu regretful. While defending, he shouted for Chi Heng's help. He warned that both of them might die here. Suddenly, a figure emerged from behind. The beast unleashed a barrage of devastating attacks. Chi Heng stealthily circled around, waiting for his chance. He mocked inwardly, treating his senior brother's death as certain. The beast spewed a white storm-like breath at Shu Yu. Gritting his teeth to endure, he guessed Chi Heng had already neared the seal. Chi Heng lunged gleefully to snatch the golden lotus. But as he touched it, flames backlashed, making him scream in agony. Suo Wu realized there was a spatial shifting barrier of protection. The beast appeared in the center of the pool, guarding the lotus and tossing Chi Heng aside. Seizing the chance, Suo Wu decided to retreat. He hid under the lotus leaves, trusting the ancient aura to conceal him. When the beast left, he climbed onto the stone and began absorbing the golden lotus. He circulated his cultivation method, absorbing spiritual energy swirling around him. His body transformed, preparing to break through a rare realm. With arms wide, he drew in energy, eyes resolute and craving power. Fierce winds rose across the pool, water surging as thunder coiled around his body. He roared, landing on the golden lotus, and instantly broke through to the 10th stage realm. The Shitian heart method operated, tripling its former effect. Gazing at his hand, he laughed arrogantly, knowing though not yet at meridian connecting, he could fight mid-stage experts as an equal. He laughed at himself, realizing his body could no longer endure further cultivation within the pool. In moments, his meridians were fully opened, reaching the great perfection of meridian filling. Peerless, yet mindful to stop. His disguise shifted as he took the 9-turn golden lotus, eyes gleaming with pride, using heavenly eye to spot flaws in the seals beneath. Looking at Chi Heng unconscious, he only shook his head, lamenting the tragic fate. He stomped and mocked, treating it as punishment for daring to touch Lin Meng. He searched Chi Heng and took a ring. The ring glowed brightly, containing a whole treasury of treasures inside. He marveled that this trip had yielded far too much. Turning away, he coldly muttered that all grudges should fall on Xiao Changqing. Suddenly, Xiao Changqing appeared on the rock, injured and annoyed from the palace's killing formation. Seeing Chi Heng collapsed, he panicked and shouted to ask why. From above, Suo Wu quietly watched, scheming to seize the advantage. Fellow disciples rushed over, cheering at Xiao Changqing's arrival. They leapt onto the rocks, astonished to find a spiritual treasure. One worriedly asked, and Xiao Changqing coldly replied he had just escaped disaster to arrive here. They hurried to wake Chi Heng, worried his wounds might have crippled his manhood. Xiao Changqing pondered, suspecting that Brat was behind it, fearing Lin Shimeng would be implicated. Suddenly, Chi Heng opened his eyes, making one disciple shout with joy. He clutched his wound, screaming in agony. Then he rolled on the ground, groaning, making Xiao Changqing quickly ask who the culprit was so he could avenge him. Chi Heng gritted his teeth, eyes full of hatred, pointing straight at Xiao Changqing. He shouted accusations, shocking everyone, and swore the man must be killed. A disciple in white quickly urged restraint, but Qi Heng, trembling, still screamed denial of a misunderstanding. He boasted he only survived thanks to his master's jade token, otherwise Changqing would have silenced him. Xiao Changqing grew furious, questioning if his junior wanted to spark war between the two sects. Before finishing, he noticed something wrong. He realized a hidden figure was scheming to sow discord. From above, Suo Wu sneered, praising his own successful plan. The white-robed man nodded agreement with Xiao Changqing, urging calm. Junior brother Liu also raised suspicions, pointing out strange traces around the spiritual pond. He then pointed at Xiao Changqing, fanning the flames of doubt. They grabbed Changqing's robes, quarreling as Suo Wu mocked them for being so easily fooled. Suddenly, a buzz-cut youth charged in, accusing Changqing of stealing the golden lotus. He lunged to seize Shu Yu, threatening to kill if he did not hand it over. The buzz-cut man shouted to split the lotus in half, promising to help silence witnesses. From afar, two other figures quietly observed. One curly-haired man asked if they should intervene, but his companion advised waiting for mutual slaughter to reap benefits. Even gravely injured, Qi Heng felt glee seeing his sect brothers turn against each other for profit. Weak as he was, his only option was to plan breaking the seals and releasing Zhang to throw everything into chaos. While calculating, Suo Wu had to fiercely battle with Dao Chua, the one who once kidnapped Lin Shimei. Dao Kua screamed madly, declaring that if Changqing didn't share, killing him was meaningless. He rushed at Suo Wu with a brutal strike. Suo Wu dodged while shouting, scolding them as stubborn fools. Suddenly, a bite sank into his shoulder, making him scream in pain. Dao Kua roared, revealing that killing the black shadows would make them endlessly multiply to surround Suo Wu. He gritted his teeth and roared back, saying if there was no reconciliation, he would kill them all. Suo Wu erupted with magical power, a dazzling light sweeping away both the black shadows and Dao Kua. Tahang was briefly horrified, shocked by the terrifying power of his talisman. One black shadow was blasted into a cliff, scattering rocks everywhere. Dao Kua panicked, channeled power into his legs, and caused a violent explosion. He instantly appeared behind Suo Wu, roaring that he still had many deadly moves. The sudden strike urged Tahang, realizing he could wait no longer and had to release John immediately. High above, a hidden figure watched, thinking to let them tear each other apart. Suddenly, Tahang charged in, shouting loudly, forcing into the battle. Swirling golden light wrapped around his arm. The two fighters instantly stopped and turned back in shock. A giant furred beast in the shape of a fierce fox appeared, its eyes glowing red. Someone shouted in alarm, surprised that a living creature existed in the ruins. It swung its palm, blasting everyone far away. Roaring, it spotted a figure hiding in the treetop. Suo Wu, disguised as middle-aged, cursed through gritted teeth, blaming Tahang for releasing John. He barely blocked an attack rushing toward the tree's root. The beast immediately locked onto the golden lotus aura on him beyond Tahang's expectations. He regretted, realizing John was undying, and he had no power to resist now. Running, he screamed and begged for mercy. He pleaded further, asking for a way to survive for future negotiation. Even fleeing desperately, he couldn't escape the beast's claws. Cornered against the wall of a ruined house, he blamed his own greed for leading to danger. The fierce beast advanced, eyes glowing, while he argued that spiritual treasures were meant for humans to use. He shouted that its master was dead, so why cling to the treasure? It slashed down, and he raised his hand to block, forcing it to relent. But it ignored him, pressing down harder, though luckily he wasn't crushed yet. Enraged, he exploded with a counterattack. Releasing all his spiritual power, he charged straight at the beast, defying its higher realm. He roared, using his mortal body at the 10th stage to fight equally against a divine beast. The monster clutched its face in pain while his hand burned fiercely. Though crying in pain, a look of satisfaction appeared on his face. He affirmed that the power from the spiritual pool had raised him 2 realms, enough to face a celestial, declaring to Jean he was not ordinary. But the beast, after being struck, grew even more violently enraged. It launched a fierce counterattack, shocking Suo Wu. He clearly felt the killing intent. Death looming near. A devastating blow descended, enough to shatter him completely. Quick-witted, Suo Wu slid down the cliff, using the last of his spiritual power to endure, hoping the boat would come since John dared not cross the forbidden net. The beast still chased madly right behind. Seeing the cliff's edge close, he shouted with joy. But it instantly lunged, claws slashing down. He leapt over the cliff edge, yelling farewell to Jean. While running, he told himself everything was fate. He was the destined inheritor. Surely he would be saved. At the critical moment, he landed on the boat, escaping danger. The beast could only roar helplessly, watching him leave. At the hospital, through the phone, Shimeng said that Zhu Xiao's group returned miserably injured after being hunted by Zhan. Suo Wu asked about her, and Shimeng happily bragged she had won big, regretting that the Divine Maiden Sutra could only be cultivated by women, teasing him to change gender and be her sister. He hurriedly denied while she laughed joyfully, saying all her fortune was thanks to Song Hong saving her many times. Suo Wu smiled inwardly, secretly admitting Song Hong was himself. Shimeng continued, saying Te Hong had been crippled, even made a eunuch, and everyone blamed Xiao Changqing, but she didn't care since he deserved it. Suo Wu asked if she had escaped this marriage yet. Shimeng replied that though she had a chance to refuse, to hide the truth, Zhu Xiao still forced her, and Te Hong wouldn't let go either, but she assured she could handle it, then asked about his situation in Longcheng. He gave a faint smile, saying he lived aimlessly, though inwardly he thought of Te Hong's ring, admiring its craftsmanship. Shimeng teased him, making him lock himself in the hospital room, burying himself in games daily. She advised Suo Wu to live seriously, not wanting an age gap to separate them. When receiving the inheritance, they forced her to abandon love, but she refused. Suo Wu, moved, asked Shimeng to confirm their love and wished to be together. Shimeng hesitated, worried he would face pressure, pursuit, and judgmental gazes. Suo Wu firmly accepted all hardship, only asking if she could accept him as a useless man. Shimeng gently assured she didn't mind, promised to help him, even vowing to stay with him for life. Suo Wu, choked with emotion, thanked her, revealing he still had a chance thanks to a secret realm in Longcheng. Shimeng suddenly wanted to go with him, but Suo Wu stopped her, telling her to focus on cultivation and trust him. Shimeng blushed, expressing faith and promising to wait while he comforted her not to shed tears. Suddenly a noise sounded. An enemy appeared, roaring a challenge at Suo Wu. Suo Wu immediately cut off contact with Shimeng. The sparrow angrily scolded him for being unfair, belittling companionship. Its eyes blazed as it attacked fiercely, threatening to wound him. Suo Wu laughed teasingly, praising it for reaching the 9th stage. But then he grew serious, dodging its strikes skillfully. He counterattacked precisely, blasting the opponent away with decisive moves, expressionless. The sparrow slammed into the wall, causing cracks and debris to scatter. It cried out in fear, shocked that he had reached the 10th stage. Suo Wu felt a bit guilty, apologizing for striking too hard without control. The sparrow retorted, saying he lacked virtue, his power far beyond mortals, surely due to great fortune in a secret realm. Suo Wu grinned slyly, teasing it back, saying it had vanished but now progressed remarkably. The sparrow was startled, denying mundane flirting, claiming only divine birds suited it, then declaring it would join the Xiandong Lake expedition. Suo Wu smiled confidently, saying he would disguise himself with another appearance. The sparrow agreed, gleefully praising the clever plan, also mentioning something about Song Hong. It trembled inwardly, sensing danger arriving sooner than expected. The sparrow hurriedly left, promising to return for the Xiandong Lake journey, leaving Suo Wu confused for not hearing about its cultivation. He rushed to the window to look, puzzled by its haste, worried it might cause chaos in the hospital. Suo after, So Tianxiong rushed in, panting, reporting that he had found the young master. He immediately asked about the bird, surprising Suo Wu since it had just flown away. So Tianxiong scratched his head, admitting the bird only caused minor trouble, beating up some rich heirs but killing none. Hearing that, Suo Wu froze, pale-faced. Tianxiong continued listing crimes, stealing treasures, eating herbs, injuring people, wrecking signs, and being hunted by assassins. Suo Wu grew headache, realizing its cultivation rose from stealing medicines, and it tested him to ensure protection. Gritting his teeth, he understood why it fled, as Tianxiong reassured him that Xiao Yue and the backing force had concealed everything. Suo Wu thanked him, secretly thinking offending great clans was worth it. Tianxiong agreed, recounting how he set up formations to blind the world, faking Suo Wu's recovery so outsiders misunderstood. Suo Wu felt grateful, instructing that tomorrow Song Hong would replace him in going to Xiandong Lake, while Tianxiong kept hiding the truth. So Tianxiong sternly affirmed he had noticed the young master's progress, praising his qualities and cultivation potential. Suo Wu complimented him, but Tianxiong humbly said it was only thanks to worldly experience and awareness of recent events. Suo Wu placed a hand on his shoulder as a confidant, encouraging him to expand the So family's power in Longcheng together. He transferred spiritual power, helping Tianxiong break through from 6th stage to 8th stage, his body glowing brightly. Suo Wu confidently explained that with the Heaven Test ritual, he could absorb more spiritual energy and in the future would shake heaven and earth. Soon after, he left the hospital to thank Xiao Yue, the two walking and talking about how she helped suppress family turmoil. Xiao Yue coldly and bluntly said if he wanted to call her a scheming fox, he should just say it. Suo Wu awkwardly denied, reminding her not to call him young master anymore. Amid romantic cherry blossoms, Xiao Yue said Qingqiu wanted her to return, but she refused and promised only after 3 years. Suo Wu wondered why they didn't question her reasons. She replied they did ask, and she said it was voluntary, then took her leave, only reminding him to be extremely cautious at Xiandong Lake tomorrow. Suo Wu frowned with regret, annoyed that she once knelt to acknowledge him, yet now acted lofty, making him feel beneath her. The scene shifted to a luxurious hotel, filled with luxury cars and nobles gathering for a banquet before the Xiandong Lake expedition. The host solemnly declared the banquet and transport were ready, inviting the great clans to set out. Suo Wu blended into the hall, disguised with a mustache, whispering to the sparrow that many familiar faces appeared. No sooner had he spoken than some recognized the sparrow, furiously demanding their stolen spiritual medicine back. One person warmly greeted Suo Wu, calling him Mr. Song, and he politely replied. At the next table, people whispered mockery, saying he wasn't special, but recalling he once stirred the mortal secret realm. Leng Jun looked at him with hidden intent, confirming he was the one who had gained great fortune, expressing interest. Arrogantly, he crushed his cup, vowing to seize the Xiandong inheritance and also take his life. The sparrow sensed thick killing intent and warned, but Suo Wu stayed calm, confidently planning to trap him inside the secret realm. The sparrow reminded him that the opponent might be the strongest he had ever faced, his body containing a treasure everyone coveted. Suo Wu was surprised, pressing to know what exactly it was. The announcer declared departure, wishing everyone fruitful gains. The convoy quickly rolled out on the main road. Soon after, 2 vehicles stopped right at the cave entrance. The disciples poured out, with Leng Jun leading, making Suo Wu quietly admire the aura of the ancient sect. The sparrow whispered that hidden clans were unmatched, but Suo Wu coldly dismissed them as mere insects. The disciples urged each other to hurry in since the ancient sect had already gone ahead, not wanting to be left behind. Suddenly, a group of youths with red, pink, and black hair appeared, led by an arrogant black-haired one who cut off the crowd. He arrogantly declared that to enter the cave, they must pay money or treasures, acting as the gatekeeper. A disciple angrily retorted, reminding him this was a joint action, and Xiandong Lake was discovered by the Leng clan. The black-haired youth sneered, promising to remember their guidance, but his tone dripped with contempt. He emphasized that to proceed they must pay, justifying with the word equality. His whole group laughed loudly, forcing the disciples to swallow their anger and respond reluctantly. At last, both sides prepared to enter the cave. Suo Wu and the sparrow watched the chaos. The bird wanted to act, but he calmly advised patience, blaming it for being a troublesome tag-along. The sparrow reacted furiously, accusing him of belittling its value, but Suo Wu coldly reminded it of the trouble it had caused. The sparrow was speechless, forcing itself to argue it would prove its worth. On the other side, disciples continued arguing with the black-haired youth, warning him about Leng family's young master Wu Dong. The black-haired one instantly grew enraged, saying he hated most when others threatened him with ancient sect disciples. He struck with a powerful palm, slamming his opponent against the cliff wall. The crowd was shocked, realizing the terrifying strength of a martial artist at the peak of acupoint realm. Suo Wu quietly assessed that this opponent had strength of the second stage meridian realm, enough to block many. At that moment, Fan Jian placed a hand on his shoulder, smiling and asking if he represented the So family in the expedition. He confirmed. Fan Jian chatted amicably, saying risking for treasures was for oneself and not worth selling one's life for others. Suo Wu frowned cautiously, so he introduced himself as Fan Jian and asked his name. He answered with the alias Song Hong. Fan Jian seemed delighted, proposing cooperation in the secret realm since his cultivation was still low, while Suo Wu stayed wary, agreeing to discuss inside. At that time, the black-haired youth's group continued blatantly collecting fees from disciples. Fan Jian lowered his voice, warning that even after paying, they might kill to silence witnesses. He revealed he had a protective artifact and would go first to distract them, telling Suo Wu to wait a minute before following. Suo Wu was surprised, doubting his motives for helping. Fan Jian explained clearly that because he had a grudge against Te Hang, anyone who made him suffer was his friend. Hearing this, Suo Wu nodded in agreement. He added that Te Hang was cunning, having robbed him many times. Now hearing the rival had been crippled, he felt extremely satisfied. He warned Suo Wu to stay alert in the secret realm, as his fame had drawn ancient sect disciples wanting his head. Suo Wu nodded in thanks. Fan Jian left first, telling him to enter 1 minute later, and Suo Wu agreed. In the cave, Suo Wu stayed calm, intent on killing, while he only wished to gather fortune to resist the two great sects. He glanced around the stone walls, thinking many lives would be lost in this battle. At that time, Fan Jian stood in the cave, peering around and muttering, wondering why 3 minutes had passed with no sign. Surrounded by unconscious peers, he scratched his head in doubt, thinking maybe Suo Wu still did not fully trust him. A red-haired youth carrying a longsword on his shoulder approached and questioned Fan Jian about the lack of mistakes. A black-haired young man interrupted, saying Chi Hong was not the type to trust others easily. Fan Jian stroked his chin, concluding that was indeed the schemer Chi Hong, whose few words already revealed cunning. He decided they should move ahead, since other ancient sect disciples had gone far while they lagged behind. Suddenly, Suo Wu appeared from behind, charging like a lightning strike. Fan Jian silently turned away, while the sharp black-haired man immediately looked back. He swung his sword at Suo Wu and shouted a warning, urging retreat from the danger. Like a storm sweeping through, Suo Wu felled the whole group, blood splattering everywhere. As he calmly advanced, a proud sparrow blocked his path and shouted that this was a robbery.